this project, you're going to need a metal sheet. In this case, I use brass 24 gauge, a pattern which I sketched out on a piece of adhesive paper, and ear wires. I also use jump rings, but then I took them off, so you may not need those. You're also going to need a jeweler's saw with the appropriate blade for your gauge of metal wire, metal sheet, cutting lube, a bench pin and vise, a letter metal stamp set, a bench block with optional cushion, brass hammer, a permanent marker or ink with something to apply it with, steel wool, sandpaper for metal. I have a couple of different grits here, polish pad and or cloth, tape, which is optional. I ended up not using it, hole punch, 2 pliers to open and close jump rings, and a metal file. Okay, so to get started, I took the adhesive paper pattern which I had, and I used some carbon paper to lightly trace it on the brass sheet. I was going to use tape to set out the lines of where I was going to do the stamping, but I just ended up marking it with a ruler because I just found it easier. What I did was I had a couple of lines from a poem, and I didn't want the lines to start exactly at the edge of the earrings. I kind of wanted it to be cut off, so I started stamping outside of the border lines of the earrings, as you can see here. It did take me a while. It's a couple of words, a couple of different words. And so this part is a little bit time consuming. As you can see on the edge of my brass sheet, I was just practicing something before, and I forgot I was gonna make the earrings. I was like, oh my god, I hope that I have enough space, but I did end up having enough space. Also, at the end of the poem lines, I was going to use a dot, but I just decided to leave a bigger space. I was gonna make the dot, I don't know if you saw, with the little T stamp, and I just said, what, forget it. So okay, so then just a lot of stamping. I did set out the stamps more or less in the order in which I was going to be using them. I also, as you can see here, I have a towel underneath. That's because it was too loud and my king was napping and I didn't want to wake him up. I used the rubber mallet to straighten out the brass sheet a little bit because it did curve in just a tad, just a little bit. I removed the adhesive paper, the pattern, and I put that over my brass sheet, and then I traced over the border lines again with a pen. I should have used a marker, I know, I just didn't have one at the moment. Now my bench pin, as you can see, if you can see, there's a little tiny notch on the edge of it. I use that so that when I'm going to start sawing a piece of metal, I'll line it up with the notch, where my cutting line, I'll line it up with the notch. That's what I'm trying to show you there. And I'll start sawing. Because the blade is going to end up right at the notch, it just makes it easier to lead into where I'm supposed to be sawing, as you're going to be seeing later on. Just you want the twang on the blade to make sure that it's properly attached, and you want to lube it up. I'm trying to show here that the saw, the bench pin, should be up high and not down low. In my case, I had it down low because I wasn't at my work table again, and I'm very uncomfortable where I am because of my belly. As you can see there, I put the saw right at the notch, I place my blade, and I just start cutting. As you can see, I'm having a really difficult time with the table and everything. If you have your work table, just do it there. As you can see there, see the notch helped me get my saw exactly at the line where I wanted to cut the metal. And then it's just simply, it's taking it easy, going, up and down, letting the saw lead, not lead itself, but kind of lead itself. Not pushing it is what I mean. If you get stuck, just ease up a little bit and keep sawing. After a while, you may need to lube up your blade once again. You can also put lube on the back of the sheet, of the metal sheet, and that also will help it go by faster. Okay, so I have my king here. He wants to say something.
Cuando me desperté, yo quería asustar a mami.
As you can see here, I was having a little bit of trouble and it got stuck, so I did put some cutting lube in the back.
Y ese día yo vi Racing Show.
He's just letting you guys know something that happened when I was cutting. As I said earlier, he was napping and I just started cutting. I never realized that he got up from bed and he was standing right behind me. So when I turned to the side to get, I think it was the lube or something, there was like this head floating right over my chair. It was just hilarious. He gave me a heart attack and he thought that was the funniest thing ever. I had such a pain in my belly because he really scared me. So that's what he loves. That he loves scaring mommy. Okay, so as you can see here, I cut both long edges. I did not turn because you would have to turn the blade, and I wanted a sort of sharp edge. So I just simply cut the long edges, and then when I cut across, as you can see here, then just the pieces just came out. And he also let you guys know that he saw Great Race Show, which is the Thomas movie, the last Thomas movie, which we absolutely love. I think I've said it before. I may have even posted it on my Instagram. Love Ashima. She's beautiful. Okay, so there it is. I'm just cutting the bottom and top edges, which are just the shorter edges of the brass earrings. And there it is on the floor. My God, my belly's in the way. I'm almost out, guys. Just a couple more. Like, oh my, 4-6 more weeks. And there it is with the pencil marks. So I removed the backing, the adhesive paper. I used the rubber mallet to straighten it out a little bit. Then I used a metal file to sharpen, look at me, to round off. We'll round off and take a little bit of the sharpness of the earrings, of the edges. When I did cut, my blade did kind of like wobble a little bit. I mean, it wasn't perfectly straight, so I used the edge of the file to see how straight is the line and if I have to straighten it out a little bit, which is what I did with the file. And like I said, just rounded off the edges a little bit. Once I did that, I just made sure that it wasn't that I didn't shave off too much with the metal files, because I did want that shape. I didn't want the edges, the corners completely rounded. But once I did that, because the edges are sharp, I used the sandpaper to smooth out the edges. I always get this confused. It's the lower number, like the 100 or whatever, up to the higher number, the 1400. I get my numbers right. It's just I keep forgetting if it's the coarser, it's the lower. So I think that's the lower grit. I think that's how you say it. So you go with your sandpaper, you go from the lower grit to the higher grit, which is what I'm doing here. You should do it in one direction, but I just keep forgetting. I just keep forgetting. Once I did that, I also did the top and the bottom. I just smoothed that out a little bit. Excuse me. Yeah, the top and the back, the front and the back. And then I washed it with dishwashing liquid to remove everything, like the pencil marks or anything. I used the pencil, which, yeah, I know, after I washed it. I used the pencil to use the to get the hole in the hole punch. Get the hole with the hole punch. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my king at the same time he's playing. He's so cute. And what I did after I punched one hole through one of the pieces, I used You see, I just sandwiched them together just to line them up and get the holes more or less on the same position in each of the earrings. Okay, here's my king wanting to say something else.
Y el otro día le enseñé Kristoff.
The other day he showed you guys Kristoff. It means in one of the previous videos he showed you guys his Kristoff. Okay, so steel wool. Hit the front and the back of the earrings with the steel wool. I think that's just habit now. Once I'm done with the steel wool, I'm going to use my sandpaper to simply sand the top of the pieces again. Again, I'm going to be moving from the lowest grit to the highest grit. I don't really don't have the sandpapers too low. I think it's about maybe a 300 or 500 something, and then moving upward. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so you can use permanent marker for this part. I prefer using ink. I specifically use Vintage Patina in Onyx, and I apply it with the cotton swab because I have the font that I use is the Impressart Bridget font in lowercase. And because I can't measure my own strength, when I stamp pretty hard, and I didn't have to stamp that hard for this 24 gauge metal. So the impressions of the font are really, really deep. So it's a little bit of a pain when it comes to, for example, the letter I, the space between the dot and the line of the I. First, the impression themselves, so I have to dab the ink, but then trying to get the ink out of the little swirlies or whatever you want to call them is a pain in the butt with the steel wool. But you know, just a little time and a little nail and steel wool in there, and I actually did, you know, I was able to clean it up completely. So it took me a while, but I was able to do it, as you'll be able to see here. Like I said, I have to just either use thicker metal or see. So they did clean up. It's with the S and the I. Oh my God, the O is also a pain in the butt. But they did clean up, as you guys can see here. Now, because I stamp so hard, the back of the earrings, they're like, it's protruding. So I just hit it with some steel wool, because then after that, and the metal file to roughen it up a little bit, because after that I use some embossing powder to cover the back of the earrings, because I did not want to leave them like just plain brass. I did want to cover it. Pro polish pad to the front. I don't have a video of embossing the back of the earrings. I used a deep purple. I forget the brand of the embossing powder. It's with a W, I think it is. And of course the heat gun. I applied jump rings with the ear wires, but I didn't like how they were hanging, so I just removed the jump rings and I used the ear wires alone. And as you can see there, that is the purple in the back of the earrings. I actually love the earrings. My partner was making fun of me. I was like, oh, I love my earrings. He's like, yeah, I can tell. You haven't taken them off. I am wearing them constantly because I just like the big. I like the big. I love the trapezoid. And I just like, it's the poem is Julia de Burgos by Julia de Burgos. And I just like that line that I used. And that's it for the tutorial, guys. If you make your earrings, I would love to see. You can share with me via Instagram or Twitter at ThatNewMommy. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.